50 plank hip dips a day for a week. Here's the results. The plank is often regarded as one of the best AB exercises for sculpting a strong midsection, but if you're beyond bored of balancing on your forearms, plenty of plank variations get you a lot more bang for your buck. One of the best plank variations out there is plank hip dips, and to find out more, I did 50 of them every single day for a week. Are plank hip dips the secret to strong oblique muscles? Read on to find out more. As always, it goes without saying that doing 50 representatives of any exercise every single day probably isn't recommended by any personal trainer. It's important not to work the same muscle group every day, as your body needs time to repair. In fact, this is how the muscles grow stronger, as the tiny tears created during a hard workout need time to heal. For this week-long challenge, I didn't do any other AB workouts, but did fit in 4 different runs as part of my marathon training schedule, and 2 strength sessions. Plank hip dips target the oblique muscles, which run along the side of your torso, as well as the transverse abdominis, which are your deepest internal abdominal muscles. They also work the stabilizer muscles in your shoulders and the muscles in your back. Read on to find out how to do plank hip dips, and what happened when I did them for a week. Plank hip dips every day for a week. Here's what I learned. Day 1. On my first day of plank hip dips, I was lulled into a false sense of security during my first 10 representatives. Compared to doing 100 plank jacks a day for a week, this one would be easy, I naively thought. By 50 representatives, I realized how wrong I'd been. I could really feel this one in my obliques, and it was a slow burner. When asking a personal trainer friend to look at my form, she reminded me to keep my abs engaged, even as I got tired towards the end of my representatives. The twisting motion of this move has to come from the abs for the exercise to be effective, she reminded me. Day 2. By the first few representatives on day 2, my shoulders started to twinge, reminding me that this exercise doesn't just work your abs. I opted for 2 sets of 25 representatives, and lowered down to a forearm plank position for the second set to relieve some of the tension in my shoulders. Day 3. Like with a lot of these week-long challenges, by day 3 I'd gotten more confident. The move felt a lot easier. After my first few representatives, I set up my phone to video myself, checking in with my form. I noticed I had walked my feet slightly wider than my hips, thus making the move easier. Once I returned to the correct position, with my feet hip-width apart, I realized 3 days of plank hip dips hadn't given me crazy strong obliques after all. Days 5 and 6. It often happens with these challenges that by days 5 and 6 I am sick to death of the exercise in question, and look for new ways to mix them up to make them interesting. On day 5, I challenged myself to get to 60 representatives, and on day 6, to 70 representatives. My obliques were definitely ready for this one to be over, and at last, the end was in sight. Day 7. On day 7, I returned to the original 50 representatives, but decided to up the intensity by really slowing the move down, pausing for 3 seconds every time I lowered my hip to the ground. This was, by far, the hardest day yet, as my stabilizer muscles worked harder than ever to keep my body still at the bottom of the twist. Did 7 days of plank hip dips leave me with a six-pack? Of course not. Unfortunately, visible abs are the result of a low body fat percentage, not endless planks, or AB challenges. Here's how to calculate your body fat percentage, and why it matters. That said, AB exercises like this are great for me, as a runner, as they work on strength and stability, but also the rotational movement you do in most sports. I know to run faster and stronger, I need a rock-solid core, and I'll definitely be keeping plank hip dips in my AB routine in the future.